books and she didn't have them. So we gave her an opportunity to reapply, and she came back to with books this month.
Right.
So this is Erica Nash. Welcome her tonight. Her book is Bad Dates and Conversation. It is a humor book. So welcome, Erica.
Good evening. Like she said, it's called Bad Dates and Conversations. These are all true stories, unfortunately. And what made me write it is my sister here. I would go home after each date and share what happened on the date, and she would laugh hysterically. So she suggested that I write a book. At first I was reluctant, but then I went ahead and did it, and so birthed this book. And so one of the dates I want to share is pretty much 5 bad dates rolled into one. And the title is called Mr. Payless. So I have definitions for these titles. I'll go over some of the titles real quick. Thick glossy knee, the prostitution offer, jerk chicken burp, here to impress, paranoid, the vegan, and too much too soon. So these are just some of the titles. And so, okay, Mr. Payless, a man who, while on a date, will pay the bare minimum on the date if he can't get it for free. So I saved what I believe is the best for last, or you could call it the worst for last. I went on the date with Mr. Payless, and you will soon understand why it was just one. This one date felt like about 5 different bad dates rolled up into one nightmare. Allow me to start from the beginning. Mr. Payless and I spoke on the phone for about a week before we went out. Why didn't I see the signs earlier, you ask? I have no idea. Before even going on the date, he asked me what I wanted to do. I told him that I wanted to see a particular movie and also listen to live jazz music at a popular downtown Atlanta restaurant. He wanted me to see what times the movie was going to be showing, but I told him that he needed to take care of that. He agreed, and then he came over to pick me up for the date, and I put that in quotes, and we were off to begin the adventure. We got to the movie theater, and we both looked at the times the movie I selected was playing. One showing was already well underway, and the next one, it was going to play in 2 more hours. I looked at him and asked what happened. You said you were going to check the times. He looked dumbfounded, or just maybe dumb, and hunched his shoulders. He purchased the tickets for the next showing, which was 2 hours later, and suggested we walk to the mall that wasn't far away. I figured we were already out, the mall wasn't far, and blah, 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 so I agreed. I was still a little irritated, so the walk to the mall did me some good. We made it to the mall and began walking around. He wanted to stop at a vitamin kiosk. He asked the employee if she had anything for stamina, and had the nerve to nudge me with his elbow like this, and I immediately flipped my eyes up and gave him a disapproving look. I guess he didn't read the look very well, because he continued to ask the lady questions about stamina and ginseng. He asked if it really worked because he's not as young as he used to be. I just walked away. I was embarrassed. He caught up with me and we continued down the mall. He grabbed my arm and excitedly said, "Wait, this is my favorite store." I slowly looked up and said, "Payless?" I said, "Not that there's anything wrong with Payless shoes, but your favorite store?" He proudly said, "Yeah, I don't spend all that money on shoes, nor does he on dates." We made it back to the movie theater, and he went to get a snack while I sat down. He did ask me if I wanted anything, but I ate before he came to get me. He sat down next to me with his snack and put his hand on my knee. I looked at his hand and then at him, and another disapproving look. He so ignorantly said, "Let me take my hand off your knee before I get excited." I angrily said, "Yes, let you." It was time for the movie to begin, so we went in and sat down. I was leaning over to my left and he was sitting on my right. He looked at me with an attitude and said, "What's wrong with you? You're acting like you're not even on a date." I said, "Why? Because I'm not sitting on your lap?" Why did I even ask that? He said, "Yep." Throughout the entire movie, he had an attitude and didn't say a word. It was best he kept his mouth shut. As we walked out of the movie theater, he said, "Look, everyone is looking at us. We do look good." What an idiot. They were looking at me. Just kidding. He asked me why I wanted to be at the restaurant by 9. I told him because there would be no charge before 9. I don't know. I guess maybe something inside of me knew he was cheap. I told him because he kept reminding me about how much money he didn't have. When he found out it would be free, because by now it is almost 10 p.m., he said, if I would have known that, we would have skipped the movies. Really? So he wanted me to drive his car because I knew where the place was. So I told him no, and I could give him directions as he drove. It rained earlier that evening, and there were puddles in the road, nothing unusual for a rainy day. A car drove by and happened to drive through a puddle, and the water splashed on his car. He started fussing and cussing and said, "They did that on purpose." What? That's ridiculous. We made it near the restaurant, and he asked me where I usually park. I told him that I normally have my car valet parked. He asked me how much it cost, and I told him $5. He was shocked, and he said, $5? $5? Do you have $5? I told him not for a first date, I don't. So we drove around, and he saw a parking lot that said $3. His response was, $3? No, we can do better than that. Dude. So we circled the block, went up and down the street, and finally he located a parking deck that was about 2 blocks away. I'm talking about a downtown-sized block, not neighborhood block. The parking deck was a bank parking lot, which cost nothing. He said, yeah, this is more like it. I'm all for great deals, but come on. As we walked miles to the restaurant, he asked, how much does it cost to get in? I told him that I didn't know because I always would get in free. He said in a frustrated tone, it's probably $10. We arrived at the window and he asked the cashier how much it cost. She told him $10 and he asked, are ladies free? I was so embarrassed. As the cashier looked at me as though she felt sorry for me, I turned my head and acted like I didn't even hear him. He looked at me and had the audacity to ask, do you still want to go in? I was so aggravated and said, it's up to you since you're the one complaining about money. He did end up paying for us to get in. The host of the restaurant asked if we would be dining in, and he asked yet another ignorant question. If we sit in that area, pointing to the dining area, as opposed to the bar, we have to get something to eat, don't we? I received another, I feel sorry for you girl look. She told him yes. He looked at me and said, you didn't want anything to eat, did you? His brilliant questions and statements just kept coming. Now by this time, it is 10 p.m. and he picked me up at around 5 p.m. I guess I should have gotten a snack at the movies after all. My fault. I told him, I guess not. He asked me what was downstairs and I told him dancing. He said, let's go downstairs. I explained I chose this place to listen to live music, not go dancing. I'm all for compromising. After all, I continued on this date. But we had only heard one song and a half, and he did ask me what I wanted to do. After he begged, we went downstairs and I explained that I wasn't going to dance at all. When we got downstairs, I suppose he thought I was joking because he said, let's dance. I told him that I wasn't going to dance, but he could. I sat on the couch while he danced with whoever agreed to dance with him. And this pre-med student came over by me and started small talk. He asked me where I graduated, what I majored in, and he was excited to learn that I had my degree in psychology and felt the need to quiz me. He asked me something about the brain and giving me multiple choice options, A, B, C. I picked a letter, any letter, to end this quiz. I got it wrong and he said, no, the answer is C, serotonin, you knew that. Talk about someone excited about the medical field. He was giving quizzes in the club. Who does that? I'm sure he is a wonderful doctor today. Hopefully he has learned to socialize about more than the medical field. So pre-med left and Mr. Payless came back and said, what was Nerd Boy talking about? I didn't answer him. Payless asked me to dance again, and I said, "What did I tell you?" I was still sitting on the couch. At this point, my arm was on the armrest of the couch. Mr. Payless was standing next to the couch, rambling about something. As he was babbling, the gum he was chewing fell out of his mouth and landed on my arm. It was as though it happened in slow motion. No! He acknowledged what happened by looking at the gum resting on my arm as if it was supposed to be there, but he showed no remorse. I stiffly lifted my arm close to him and said, "Get it off." He got it off and held his hand out, saying, "Give me some more gum." I said, "Is that how you ask?" He then asked with manners, and that is when I gave him some more gum. He left and danced for a little while longer. After he was finished dancing, we left. As we walked our miles to the free bank parking garage, he said, "You are wonderful. You didn't even trip when I was dancing with other women." I told you that there was no need in both of us not having a good time. When we got halfway to the car, he spotted IHOP. He said, "Oh, there's IHOP. We'll go there next time." Amazing. It is about 1 a.m. now, and I still can't get anything to eat. And next time, what made him think we were going on another date? I guess I gave him some hope since I stayed on this date for so long. We finally made it to the car, and he reminded me about how much money he didn't have, how he had to borrow $40 from his friend and had $20 of his own. He also mentioned being in the process of moving and how he appreciated my understanding. On the way back home, he asked, "So what do you want to do now?" What do I want to do now? When did we begin doing what I wanted to do? Oh, maybe he asked so I can say one thing just for us not to actually do it. I asked him what he was trying to do. The date was over. He said, "I don't know, get a pizza and rent a movie." Oh, so now he had some money for a cheap pizza and a rental just to be hemmed up at my place. No, I don't think so. I told him the date was over. We finally made it to my place, and he walked me to my door, and he began rubbing his hands together as though he was rubbing in lotion. I told him, "Are you ready for your church hug?" He said, "Oh, you're wrong for that." Finally, the nightmare ended.
Awesome.
So, true story, no exaggeration.
Excellent. All right, thank you all for clapping. I think that was definitely well worth it.